Picture this. It's 2 in the morning, and you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling again. The house is quiet, maybe too quiet. The kids have their own lives now. Grandchildren visit on weekends if you're lucky, and somehow the nights just feel longer than they used to. You've tried everything: warm milk, turning the TV on low, counting breaths, but sleep keeps slipping away from you like water through your fingers. Sound familiar? If it does, I want you to stay with me, because what you're about to discover today changed the lives of thousands of people just like you, and it starts with something so simple, so quiet, and so alive that most people walk right past it in the gardening section at Home Depot without a second glance. Before we go any further, if you've ever felt like sleep is something that happens to other people, or like the nights have become your loneliest hours, hit that like button right now, because today we're talking about a plant that science has now confirmed does something remarkable in your bedroom. And I think by the end of this video, you're going to feel something you haven't felt in a while. You're going to feel understood, and you're going to feel hopeful. So let's start at the beginning. I want to tell you about a woman named Margaret. Margaret is 72 years old and lives in a small house in Tucson, Arizona. After her husband passed 3 years ago, she found herself waking at 2 and 3 in the morning, heart racing, mind full of worries she couldn't name. Her doctor suggested melatonin. Her daughter suggested a white noise machine. Her neighbor suggested chamomile tea. She tried all of it. Nothing stuck. One afternoon, while waiting for her granddaughter to finish soccer practice, Margaret wandered into a small plant nursery down the street, one of those places that smells like earth and humidity and something ancient you can't quite put your finger on. The woman behind the counter handed her a snake plant. "Put it in your bedroom," she said. "See what happens in a week." Margaret almost laughed, but she was tired enough to try anything. 7 nights later, she called her daughter. "I don't know what this thing is doing," she said, "but I slept until 5:30 this morning. I haven't done that in 2 years." Now, was it magic? No. Was it coincidence? Maybe partly. But here's where it gets fascinating, because science has a very specific explanation for why that happened, and it has everything to do with what that plant was quietly doing while Margaret slept. The snake plant, its scientific name is Dracaena trifasciata, though you might know it as mother-in-law's tongue, is what botanists call a CAM plant, which stands for crassulacean acid metabolism. Now, I know that sounds like a textbook, so let me explain it in plain English. Most plants breathe the way we expect them to. They take in carbon dioxide during the day and release oxygen. But the snake plant does something different, something almost backwards. It absorbs carbon dioxide at night and releases oxygen in the dark, right there in the room with you. Think about what that means. At the very moment your body is trying to rest and repair itself, this plant is quietly enriching the air around you with fresh oxygen. Researchers at NASA, yes, that NASA, conducted a landmark study back in 1989 that identified the snake plant as one of the most effective air-purifying plants on the planet. But what's even more relevant for you today is what sleep scientists have been discovering since then. A study published in the journal Environmental Health Perspectives found that improved indoor air quality, specifically increased oxygen levels and reduced carbon dioxide, was directly linked to better sleep quality, fewer nighttime awakenings, and improved cognitive function the following morning. And in 2022, researchers at the University of Queensland in Australia confirmed that plants with CAM photosynthesis, like the snake plant, actively improve nighttime oxygen levels in enclosed spaces like bedrooms. Here's what happens at a cellular level when you breathe slightly richer oxygen while you sleep. Your body's parasympathetic nervous system, the one responsible for rest, digestion, and recovery, activates more fully. Your heart rate slows. Your cortisol levels, that stress hormone that keeps you awake and anxious, begin to drop more efficiently. Your brain moves more easily into the deeper stages of sleep, the ones where your body actually does its maintenance work.
This isn't theory. This is documented, peer-reviewed science that explains exactly what happened in Margaret's bedroom that week. And here's what I find extraordinary. A living thing, without any effort, without a single pill, just quietly breathing the opposite rhythm of you, was giving you something your body desperately needed. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had a plant in your bedroom before? I'd genuinely love to know your experience. But the science is only part of this story, because long before any laboratory confirmed what this plant does, ancient wisdom traditions around the world already knew it. And I think you'll find it remarkable how many different cultures, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, arrived at exactly the same truth. The indigenous Zuni people of the American Southwest kept what they called guardian plants near sleeping spaces. These weren't decorative choices. The Zuni healers believed that certain plants held a protective energy at night, that they stood watch over the sleeper in the darkness. Snake plants, along with agave and other succulent varieties native to the region, were placed near doorways and beside sleeping mats, specifically because elders observed that people rested more peacefully in their presence. They didn't have the language of CAM photosynthesis, but they noticed what the science later confirmed. In ancient Egypt, the papyrus scrolls of the New Kingdom describe a practice of placing breath plants, living green things chosen for their nighttime activity, alongside the sleeping chambers of pharaohs and high priests. Archaeologists excavating tombs at Luxor have found the remnants of succulent-like plant species pressed between burial artifacts, suggesting these plants held significance not just in life, but in the transition between worlds. Egyptian healers describe these plants as giving back what the night takes, a poetic description of exactly what we now know happens with oxygen exchange. In traditional Chinese medicine, there's a concept called qi, the life force that flows through all living things. Different wisdom traditions describe exactly the same thing, just in different languages. The snake plant was considered a qi-generating plant, meaning healers believed it produced rather than consume vital energy. Where modern science says releases oxygen at night, ancient Chinese healers said generates qi while the household rests. These aren't contradictions. They're the same observation made by people who were paying very close attention to the world around them, and across centuries and continents, they all arrived at the same place. This plant does something different at night, something that matters, something worth paying attention to.
Now let's talk about what modern practitioners have observed, because this is where everything starts connecting. In the world of Feng Shui, the ancient Chinese art of arranging space to promote well-being, the snake plant holds a specific and honored position. But here's where people often get confused. Feng Shui practitioners say the snake plant should not be placed in the bedroom. And the reason they give is that it carries strong yang energy, active, upward, protective energy that can feel stimulating rather than restful. Now, this might seem to contradict everything I just told you about sleep, but stay with me, because this is where it gets interesting. Modern Feng Shui practitioners have nuanced this considerably. They recommend placing the snake plant at the foot of the bed or in the corner diagonally opposite the door, positions where its upward energy serves as a protective boundary rather than a direct stimulant. And from biology, all of this makes perfect sense. The ideal distance for nighttime oxygen benefit without any potential mild allergen exposure is between 4 and 6 feet from the sleeper. That's exactly where Feng Shui says to put it. The corner, the foot of the bed, not on the nightstand, not directly beside your face, but present in the room, at a respectful distance, doing its quiet work. Two ancient traditions and modern science all agree on the same placement. Think about that for a moment. And there's something else I want to share with you, something that goes deeper than oxygen and qi and all the fascinating science we've talked about. It has to do with what it means to tend to a living thing, especially after 60, especially when the house feels quieter than it used to. Here's where everything converges. The snake plant is one of the most forgiving plants on Earth.
It needs water only once every 2 to 6 weeks. It tolerates low light. It asks almost nothing of you, but it responds to care. When you water it consistently, when you wipe the dust from its leaves, when you rotate it toward the window, it grows. It sends up new shoots. It fills out. It becomes more of itself under your attention. And I want you to think about what that means, because they all point directly at you. If this plant thrives under your care, it means you're still someone who nurtures. You're still someone whose presence makes living things grow. You did that. Your attention, your consistency, your care. There's a concept in psychology called biophilia, the deep human need to be connected to other living systems. Research from Harvard University, led by biologist E.O. Wilson, established that humans have an innate evolutionary bond with nature. And what researchers have found since then is that caring for a living plant, specifically the daily or weekly ritual of checking on it, watering it, noticing its new growth, activates the same neural reward pathways as other forms of meaningful relationship. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between tending a plant and tending a relationship. Both reduce cortisol. Both increase serotonin. Both give your nervous system the signal that says, you matter here. Something needs you. You belong. After 60, that signal can become quieter in life. Children are independent. Careers have wound down. The social structures that once gave daily purpose have shifted. A plant on your bedroom floor is a small thing, but it is a living thing that responds to you. And at 2 in the morning, when the house is quiet, there's something genuinely comforting about knowing that something in that room is breathing, differently than you, in rhythm with you, in service of you. Now I want to give you something practical, because everything I've shared today only matters if you actually do something with it. So let's talk about how to bring this into your life, starting today. First, go get a snake plant. You'll find them at Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, and most local nurseries across the United States. They typically cost between $8 and $25, depending on the size. For a bedroom, look for a plant that's roughly 12 to 18 inches tall, substantial enough to make a difference in air quality, but not so large it overwhelms a smaller space. When you're choosing one, look for firm, upright leaves with no yellowing or mushiness at the base. Healthy snake plants are confident-looking. They stand straight. Second, placement matters, and now you know why. Put it in the corner of your bedroom, at the foot of the bed if possible, between 4 and 6 feet from where your head rests on the pillow. Keep it away from heating vents, which dry it out, and away from air conditioning units, which can chill the roots. A north or east-facing bedroom window is ideal, but this plant will genuinely survive in low light. It's one of the few plants that actually prefers being slightly ignored. Third, and this is where people most often go wrong, don't overwater it. The number one mistake people make with snake plants is watering them too frequently. In the winter months, you may only need to water it once a month. In summer, every 2 to 3 weeks. Stick your finger an inch into the soil. If it's still damp, wait. If it's dry, give it a thorough drink and let it drain completely. Never let it sit in standing water. The roots will rot and you'll lose it. Give it 7 nights, not 1, not 2, 7 full nights of the plant being present in your room before you make any judgments. Your body needs time to respond to the changed environment. Your nervous system needs time to register the difference. Be patient with it, the way you'd be patient with any new relationship. The results aren't overnight, but they are real. Share this video with someone you know who's struggling with sleep, especially anyone who lives alone, because sometimes the most powerful things we can do for each other are the smallest. Passing along something that helped, saying, "I thought of you." Before we close, I want to leave you with something to sit with tonight. Whether you believe in qi or in chem photosynthesis or in the simple psychology of caring for a living thing, there's one truth that runs underneath all of it. You are not separate from the natural world. You never were. After 60, it's easy to feel like life is contracting, like the circles are getting smaller, like there's less of the world in your daily life. But place a living thing in your room. Watch it breathe while you sleep. Water it on a Tuesday and notice it standing a little straighter by Saturday. That is not a small thing. That is you, still connected to the web of living things, still tending, still mattering. Hit that like button if this gave you something to think about tonight. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because every week I'm bringing you content exactly like this: science and ancient wisdom and practical steps, all in service of helping you sleep better, live better, and feel less alone in the quiet hours. Tell me in the comments, what plant do you already have in your home, and has it ever surprised you? I read every single comment, and your stories genuinely make this worth doing. Good night. Take good care of yourself. And remember, something in your room tonight is breathing for you.